I'll go ahead and get started as other people are joining in.
Yeah, we're still trying to get plants in the ground, so I'm trying to be quick.
Totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Winter's a much slower time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just want to welcome everybody. So this is going to be our second pig talk for the RWHA. I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of your days and your schedule to join us, as I'm still in my work clothes and I stink and need a shower. Most of y'all do too, I'd say. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I am Mollie of the Copper Penny Farm, and I am the new RWHA Secretary Treasurer. And I am filling in for Mark, who couldn't be here this evening. So for this episode of the Pig Talk, we are dedicating it to direct marketing. So the goal of the association, we want it to be educational, informational, supportive, and promotive. And as we do have registered animals as our base, we also have to consider the other avenues and the aspects of the breeding and the producing of the heritage red wattles. So what better sells the breed than most of us know than the meat? So I tell everybody, from the field to the plate, you can't beat the hog. So that's what we want to talk about today. It's just anybody new coming in to give them an idea of how others have achieved what they have achieved, and anybody that is achieving the goals, maybe give them a different insight to how others are doing the process as well. So after that, I want to get into introducing who we got today. So we do have three guest speakers. It's going to be Russ Lee. He is out of Illinois. We have Joe McCabe.
Wisconsin, just barely Wisconsin.
Well,
just on the border.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll say that you're in Illinois.
Okay.
And then we have Joe McCabe, Minnesota. And then we also have Julia Smith, and she is over in Canada. All three of these have accomplished a lot of things in their direct marketing. They've overcome some hurdles, and now they're achieving goals. And that's the things that I want them to share with us today. If we'll let them speak, and then we'll do some questions and stuff as we go along a little bit. So the first one I want to put up is Russ, so that he can get his stuff out there for us. Go ahead, Russ.
Well, so what do you want us to talk about mostly, Mollie?
So I would like for you to inform everybody about basically what you do, how you market, like if you use your social media, if you went out to restaurants, anything like that, how you got to where you are now.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't do any farmers markets. My farm's pretty centrally located in a bunch of communities of different incomes. I sell to a few like kind of specialty grocery stores, and then to an online place that sells mostly Wagyu beef. And then I sell a lot off my farm, probably about 50% that I have people come out for. I kind of do a lot of specialty items, and so people will travel further and are willing to pay more. For instance, like we do like a lot of pork brisket, tomahawk chops, the fresh coppa roast. We do tri-tip, picanha, all those different kind of more beef cuts, I guess. Uh-huh. And then normally I have about a dozen specialty sausages that we have made with for recipes for just myself, with the higher end spices and fresh herbs and all that. I do offer the normal sausages like everyone else can get kind of from the processor, the more typical brat, Italian coils, and the breakfast links and patties. I would say my more premium stuff, even with it being $12 a pound versus like $7 or so, sells probably 2 or 3 or even 4 to 1 versus the regular. But it does cost a lot more to make those. on top of my normal processor. It goes to a small USDA shop that a couple chefs run. And so it cost me an additional $3 a pound, or so $3 to $5 a pound for processing, you know, because like some of the items, like we do the lacto fermented snack sticks and things like that, which end up costing more, or like we do Italian with giardiniera in it and things like that. Right now I'm working on doing more like trying to work on a ramen broth and things like that to start using up neck bones and other parts. And yeah. So a lot more specialty stuff. But with that and selling a lot more wholesale stuff, I do have a lot more refrigeration, and I have to hold a lot more meat, you know, to get like 200 pounds of tomahawk chops together or something for an order. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So any questions? I think I kind of went over my basics.
So I do have a question. So whenever you started your process, do you find that it helps you to advertise as a pasture raised, or do you feel like that is just a fad?
So for instance, like some of the stores I sell to, they advertise the pasture raised. The guys that sell the Wagyu meat and stuff that sell my pork, they do not. That's all meat quality. My customers at the farm are a mix. Mm-hmm. Probably half care that they're ethical, and half are happy that they're ethical, but mostly they care about what their meat is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a mix. Occasionally I get these people that think pigs can just eat grass and that's what I should be doing, and I just send them to whoever they've been buying their pork from.
Yeah.
Previously.
Yeah. It's the truth, man.
So, but yeah, what were you saying? Sorry, someone had a question.
Yeah, I was wondering, all the specialty stuff you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go that route because they sell better, or I mean, why not just stick to the
I'd say it sells way better, and I have people that travel up to by car 4, 5, 6 hours to come buy pork because they can't find anything similar.
I cannot. Somebody behind me. There's someone behind me. I cannot.
But with that, I guess the biggest issue I have, like, so I wish I could use a lot less expensive, like your more typical processor. My processing cost on one hog is at the original processor, not for specialty sausages, ranges from $500 to $600 per hog. That's with everything individually packaged, 3 to 5 millimeter plastic, bone pads and the works. And that's a lot of whole muscle butchery. So I guess the problem is locating someone who can do that and then justifying the cost. It ends up being about $2.50 a pound at the first processor. Hello?
Copper, you're muted.
Am I on mute?
You all can't understand my sign language?
So, did you guys not hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess what I was saying is, I feel like people want to do a farrow to finish, and they want to process the hogs on their farm, right? But they forget what the cost of getting all those certifications, the inspections, and actually being able to do that, all the costs that go into that. They don't realize it, you know. And then
I wish I could, but the regulatory burden's difficult. And then, like, to have it properly packaged and things, the machines are very expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
Additionally, like the Holstein butchers, that's a whole trade on its own. That's a whole nother body of knowledge. You know, like I can process some chickens, but I won't cut one of my hogs, if that makes sense. for sale for somebody
Yeah.
competently.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. So are you doing just Red Wattle, or are you doing crosses as well?
I guess it's complicated right now. So I do mainly the purebred Red Wattles and the purebred Mangalisas. I had a problem. I had a customer for all of the Mangalisa fat rendered into small containers, but my processing fell through. So I'm not sure if I'll continue with that. I did sell a hybrid of the two, but the pork, being that I carry the purebred Mangalisa, the people that want that, they want the purebred. I don't know if that's the case if I end up dropping the Mangalisa. And I'm not sure. The crossbred though, I sold probably 80 or 90. No, I got to look at my books. It's like almost 90 Mangalisa Red Wattle crosses this spring to like homesteader types.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you physically go out and source these people on your own? Did you go out and take your meat to all these different restaurants and all these different people to get them to try it first before you got the influx of customers?
Well, so restaurants have been a terrible avenue in general. Some of it's been a lot of chefs and people reaching out. I had one of the stores I had in the beginning, and then I had some press that helped, and that kind of got everything rolling to where it is now. Mm-hmm. The only thing I do once in a while is I'll do, as much as I dislike Facebook, I'll pay for Facebook targeted ads and run those.
Yeah,
but they're fairly minimal.
Which I think makes you a little different than the others, because you rarely see you posting a lot of stuff on Facebook. You know, everybody has a pretty good prominent Facebook, and that's how most people are doing their sales. But you're truly, you don't do a lot of that from what I've seen.
My farm account, I post a lot. What do you mean that I don't post in the groups as a farm?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I just stay out of a lot of the fray. My farm, if you look at my Instagram or my Facebook for my farm, there's a lot of posts to my customers.
Yeah.
But in terms of like communicating with other farms, it's pretty minimal.
Yeah. Which I think proves what you have been doing. You know, you're not, your customers and your meat is what is selling itself, you know, because you do a lot of pictures. You have beautiful pictures of the meat.
Yeah. So actually that's just taken off of the cell phone.
Yeah.
All of it. And most of it's with no filters. But it's pretty simple. I found that uniformity in the way, like I have that particular cutting boards, like I have 3 different setups that I'll consistently use that I found look good. I'm not a photographer. I take large quantities and then just kind of sort them.
Yeah. Well, you're just showing exactly what you have, and that's what sells.
So, and I'm not a chef either, nor am I a foodie. but like, I mean, I just cook stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have any fancy setup at home. Most of it's all just broiler, and honestly, the raw meat is what gets the best response, like the heavily marbled raw meat. Mm-hmm. So, and I think you'd be surprised who the clientele is. I mean, I'd say I sell to about a third of like the super affluent, but then I have a large like the immigrant population in the fall that buys a lot of stuff to cold smoke, and then I have a lot of like typical like blue collar workers like painters and carpenters and equipment operators and things like that. Mm-hmm.
What if you could give any advice to anybody that is trying to direct market their meat, right? They're trying to get into the red wattle, into that niche market. If you could give them any advice, what would you give them?
I guess kind of look at where you're at. And I mean, if you can grow them out and get really heavily marbled and that's your clientele, like that's what I do. And, you know, like all the barbecue guys and stuff really like that. And people like something a little different from time to time. So if you know, even if your processor, like the tomahawk chops are pretty simple. I think they're silly, right?
Yeah.
Because you're just basically Frenching the rib. But people love them. I mean, try to work with your processor and see what they can do. Kind of follow the food trends and what people are doing. And, you know, like, for a while, like the bacon on a stick was really popular. So like, I was selling like a lot of small 3-pound, 2-pound slabs of belly, you know, that they put on the stick and smoke and whatever. Some things you'll come up with and they won't sell well at first, and you'll stop making them, and then everyone will buy them, and then you have to try to figure out how to get them made again.
Yeah.
So, consumers it's just difficult, you know. I think you gotta just, to get better clientele, you have to mix it up a little bit sometimes, you know. So maybe, you know, just kind of see what's out there. Like the Copa roast, like that neck roast is really easy to do. Most butchers can do it. And it's been really popular. Or like the brisket, because the beef, they know beef. Or the tri-tip. The tri-tip's really, really good. It's almost all red meat. And that's a reasonable size for a roast, you know, like things like that.
Yeah. So does anybody have any other questions for Russ before he runs off to do his work?
Yeah, I got a question for you, Russ.
Yeah.
Kind of backing up a little bit pertaining to your mention of growing them out to be marbled. How old do you typically slaughter? And when you do you slaughter on your farm, or do you go to a USDA facility?
So my customers, typically they prefer pigs. I'm between 350 and 425 live weight. Usually probably average about 380 to 400 more typically. Everything I do is USDA, because I've originally, like even when I was much smaller, I have like a 200 square foot walk-in, you know, so I sell everything either wholesale to like stores or you know, I guess if you do a lot of your business off the farm though, if you're not USDA, a lot of people, really it makes no difference. I guess it comes down to how well it's packaged, you know. I didn't do well with paper wrapped, or even like the thinner vacuum seal.
How long is it taking you to get them to that weight?
About 12 months. Oh, I guess before I forget too, and one of my wholesale guys mentioned this today. Portion. So you got to stay under that $20 price point at a lot of places. So like that's why I've done better with like parting out the ham into the top, bottom, and the tip versus a whole ham.
So how long have you been raising registered? When did you have your first litter of registered red wattles?
I haven't registered anything.
No, I mean
I own registered breeding stock that I've had for.
When did you have your
3
first
years.
litter from registered breeding stock?
About 2.5 years ago or so. I do about this year. I'll do about 120 red wattles is what I have booked at the processor.
And how many of those are out of registered breeding stock?
100% or 90%. I got one that's unregistered, and that's it.
So about how many sows is your operation?
Let's see. On the red wattles, I have 5 that I do twice a year, and I typically average between 14 and 18 per litter.
Did you say 14 to 18?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually I'll end up weaning about 12 at least.
That's pretty good. You got any boars available?
I have 4 litters coming up that I got to get my registration current, but they're all registerable. But mostly I've been focusing on meat production. You know, I gathered up my pigs and I focused on meat production. Piglet prices have been better in my area, so I've been selling a lot of meat pigs, the little weanlings, and then now a lot of people are coming to pick up the 120, 150 pounders.
All right. Will anybody else have any more questions?
If anyone does, feel free to email me. I can give Mollie my email and I can totally respond when I have a few minutes.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Yeah. So
Or you can Facebook message me if you want to.
All right. Yeah. So if you'll just send me that over, and if anybody has any more questions for Russ, then you can just send him a message and contact him that way. Thank you so much, Russ.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah. Enjoy the hard work left.
We're trying produce this year, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, yes. Well, if it don't go too well, you'll just have extra food for the pigs, you know?
Yeah, I got a lot of super hot peppers. I don't know how they'll like that.
Yeah.
And they're picky. They don't like onions. They don't like a lot of stuff.
Mine love jalapenos and habaneros. They love them, man.
It's a spicy pork.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your evening. Feel free to reach out and contact me and ask whatever you'd like to ask. All right.
Thank you again, Russ.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So now that Russ is done, I would like to ask Joe, would you like to go next?
I sure can, yeah.
All right, go ahead, friend.
All right. If you don't know me, my name is Joe McCabe. I, along with my wife and 4 kids, run McCabe Family Farms in Minnesota here. I guess I don't even really know where to start, way at the beginning or the marketing, or I can start at the beginning. The reason we started the marketing is because commodity prices on other things, corn, beans, weren't as good. So I had my wife as a stay-at-home, so we decided to try to get her doing the online stuff, and I would raise it, and that's kind of how it started. And from there, when we first started doing it, it was mostly wholes and halves, just on the pork, and then we transitioned into the beef, and then pastured chickens at the same time. The wholes and halves went pretty good for quite a while, and then we started doing some more cuts because we were getting a lot of people that wanted to try it first. So we got into the cut side, and that's been going fairly well. We do one farmer's market every week, which is the local town here, Lanesboro. We have another one that we'll do once in a while. And then we use barn to door online service for selling the cuts And then my wife, Amanda, does deliveries Tuesdays and Thursdays for the online deal. And then I also sell feeder pigs, a select few registered stock, and yeah, that's it. I guess there's another market for roaster pigs too, but I haven't got into that one yet. I can't raise enough pigs right now to jump into them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the gist of our operation right now.
I think that it's interesting that you brought up the barn to door. Isn't that what it's called? Is
Yep.
it barn to door?
Barn to door, there's a couple different ones. There's that one, and then Gray's Cart. I'm not familiar with Gray's Cart. I've heard decent things about it. We just jumped on barn to door and went with it. And I can't remember if there's an upfront cost or if it just goes right in. It's a monthly subscription, and I think it's right around $100 for what we have for our subscription. And they'll build you a website. You get so many hours, a couple hours a year of free help or for changing your website around. Like MailChimp, putting together your, I forget what it's called, your main page that whenever you send out mail, that main page. And then it has the platform for all of your cuts and what's available, what's not available, there's only 2 left of this. They put it in the carts just like Amazon. Checkout, they're in Lanesboro or whatever town, they put in their zip code, and delivery on Tuesdays from 10 to 2. And leave a cooler out if you're not there. It works out pretty slick, actually.
Yeah. I was wondering, because I had looked into that when I thought that I wanted to do I wanted to sell meat also, but I stuck with the baby pigs. But I looked into the barn to door, and I wondered how good it worked for people and if it was actually, a beneficial product for your marketing, if it takes a lot of that stress off of you to market your product and puts that stress on somebody else.
No, you still have to market.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't magically sell itself. It's just nice to have that platform there. People are used to going online, clicking, buying, credit card, the way they go, it comes to their front door. I mean, it's the convenient factor that way. And it goes well with farmers markets. I don't think we'd get rid of that because you're always picking up new customers at farmers markets, and your Facebook presence, and it's any way you can get yourself out there. That's just going to help you out in the long run.
Yeah, which you're lucky to have Amanda who does that for you.
Right. Yeah. I just get to go out and go play with the pigs every day, and she does all the computer work.
Yeah. But now, so you're a 100% Red Wattle, right? You don't have any other breeds. Is that correct?
I have one Berkshire sow from when I started, and that's it. I keep her around because she has 10 to 12 and raises all of them every time. So I just have a hard time getting rid of her. But yeah, that's the last one. When she's gone, that'll be it probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that about yours, is because you are showing that you can create a market for your Red Wattle. That's what you are selling. You're basically selling your pure Red Wattle meat.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions for Joe?
Oh, Joe, you're in a pretty small community there. Is that an issue for you at all as far as, marketing and selling, or do you get enough sales?
A little bit. We have, I don't know how familiar you guys are. We have Rochester, which is 40 minutes north. So it's not terrible far, but that's pretty heavily populated. We get a few customers up there, but we're really trying to zero in on the local community here, these small towns with 500 to 1,500 population. And the kickback to that is they really like supporting the local community and local farmers, but it's a small community and they're used to cheap. I don't know anywhere else to put it.
Yeah.
So our prices are a little cheaper than most people that are really, really pushing those highly populated metropolitan areas. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a trade-off. We sell more meat at just a little bit less of a price. But I guess to go back a little bit, like I said, I farmed. I'm a full-time farmer, so I have corn, and we do soybeans, hay, a couple hundred cows. So I have that the feed at my disposal, so that I can get it for cost, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Where the smaller couple sows and 10-acre person's got to go to town and buy it. I mean, I can get by a little cheaper and sell a little cheaper.
No, so I have a question, and nobody that spoke tonight has really addressed it, but we're kind of at a point of making a decision either to sell the meat. When we started out, we just sold the wieners and stayed sold out. And I had a local market approach me. It's a butcher shop. They raise cows, chickens, but they don't have their own pigs. And this guy keeps telling me, well, we'll buy all that you can raise. But he doesn't want to do any kind of contract or anything. So I'm kind of leery of raising, 15, 20 pigs or however many we don't sell as weanlings. We have to hold them back and not sell if we're going to raise them out. But I'm wary about doing that without any kind of contract or anything. And then, so I do have 12 pigs now that have butcher dates. We're going to sell the meat. But then at that point we have, we're going to have to get another freezer. I'm going to have to get the certification and do all that kind of thing. So I'd kind of like to hear if anybody has done both ways, kind of, what business aspects should I look at? And maybe that isn't really technically a marketing question, but it's more of a business question, kind of asking for the pros and cons of either selling the the slaughter pigs, as many as we can raise, or processing and selling the meat ourselves. I think would have more profit in it, but then there's also more expenses too, and more liability.
I can speak to that from personal experience, unfortunately, Becky. Don't do it without a contract, and even with a contract, be very, very careful. I had a startup distributor, super, super excited to work with us, and yeah, same sort of thing. We'll buy everything you can raise, and had a hard time communicating with his staff and trying to explain to them that, like, I need a year's notice, right? I got to breed the things. We have to farrow, we have to raise them, takes 7 months to finish them. And so trying to get some projections of what they were going to want in the future, because I don't have a pig vending machine in the field. Like, these things have to be created. So finally got some numbers from them, and yeah, we'll get a contract. And like, meantime, I'm like, well, I guess I got to get started here. Anyway, long story short, they ended up taking less and less and less every month, until finally I was like fed up, and I wouldn't have had any trouble selling them, but I couldn't sell that many all of a sudden with no notice. So I ended up having, and the feed costs were just going up and up, and we were having some trouble with our feed supplier, and I ended up selling them at a loss.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah.
It's just too hard to do anything where you're going to potentially take a loss. It's really, really hard to make money at this when you do everything right. And so if someone's not willing to at least sign a contract with you, I would walk the other way. You can make so much more money on your own direct marketing to customers. You're way better off having less animals and making more profit on the animals that you do have than trying to crank out as many as you can to wholesale. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of what you're saying is exactly the horror story I kind of had in my head when, when he didn't answer back or didn't want to do a contract. We only held 12 back, and they all have dates now, and they're a lot of them are sold already. But I just, I keep going over it in my head and just kind of wondering if I made the right decision or if I should have pursued that.
I don't know, like if it's a reputable client, I mean, you should get them to fill out a credit form. You should do a background check on them, ask for references. I mean, I do that with some restaurants because they can be the worst for paying. But again, just coming back to like your highest profit margin is direct to consumer.
Right. That's kind of where, like, we have a lot of people that are interested in the half for the whole, but everybody wants the cuts. So I've been shopping for freezers.
Yeah.
That math starts getting a little hard, but it sounds like that's probably the way to go.
I'll talk a little bit more about that
Okay.
when it's my turn, and I'm not hijacking the conversation. That was just a sensitive topic for me.
Totally understand. All right. Joe, you got anything else?
No, I guess I can add to that I've heard horror stories too. I have a couple friends and neighbors around here that kind of do the same thing, and they've got the shaft on that same deal, where have something roll, have some contract, have something, because yeah, you can be in a world of hurt really quick when you got that many animals to go, and all of a sudden, yeah, I guess not. We don't want them.
Exactly.
When you
Yeah,
talk about
especially
these
with food
contracts,
prices.
what all are you putting in there? Because with the rising cost of feed and all the inputs, if you lock it in at a price, are you using a price floor that this is a base price and you can adjust from there? Or are you locking in that they're just going to buy so many head and then you determine the price each load?
That's a really good question. It hasn't been an issue for me because I haven't been doing any wholesale for the last few years, since things used to be a lot more stable in the world. So I would really like to hear how someone else is handling that.
I can't speak on it either. We have one restaurant in town that we work with a little bit, and they just more or less run specials. When we have an overabundance of something, they'll help us out to get rid of it and run specials. And then use our farm name, as advertising, kind of a joint deal. So I don't have any experience with wholesale. I mean, with larger companies or lockers or anything like that.
I was just curious because my 2 cents is the contracts what killed the hog industry. Everybody contracted and everybody willing to do it for 2 cents less and 2 cents less and 2 cents less. And pretty soon you looked at your financial statement and said, I can't do it for that. I've got to get out. Then the next guy next to you took on your 50 sows. And before you know it, there's only these large barns left and everybody else is out of the hog business. That's why I don't really like the word contract. And that's why I was curious of how you all were structuring it, because a lot of times a contract is better for the buyer than it is the seller. And that's why I didn't know when you all were using the term contract, if it was a strict contract or just more of a signed paper that says, I will buy so many hogs from you. And that's it, not a price, because of that's ever changing, at least in my book, because every time I buy feed, it's different.
So if I'm to sell to People's Meat Market, they will pay a price based on what the market value is of a lean hog. And because it would be pasture raised, I would get so much of a premium based on that day's market value, much like any other commodity. Now, that's not going to be the best for a small farmer. Like Joe was saying, that anyone that can't doesn't have access to cheap feed, like today, corn is down a lot. If I bought feed last Friday, well, my pigs were more expensive last Friday. But when you look at the lean hog market, that doesn't fluctuate quite as much. So right now I'd probably be getting right around $2 a pound for a hanging weight if I was selling it to people's meat market based on the market value.
Right. But
you don't put that in a contract though. You're just talking about on a daily basis, not a contract. Like they were kind of discussing if you were.
The contract would be the premium that you'd say, all right, how do we give a fair value of something? Well, there's a market report. There's also a USDA market report on pasture raised animals. So right now that's at $3.50 a pound per hanging weight. So you could structure a contract based on that USDA report, and you wouldn't say specifically a price. You would say market value upon delivery.
I can understand that, but I also know if you don't put a price floor in there, if the market falls out and you've bought high dollar corn, that doesn't help any of us small producers now. And that's why I was curious. Are we looking more to stay away from the contracts? Is that what you all would recommend for this direct marketing, and just try to find, like you're saying, these little outlets and keep feeding those outlets, stay away from contracts? Or is that
direct marketing is staying away from contracts? It's finding literally going directly to the people that are buying your pork. I think Becky was saying that, if you have an outlet for piglets, why would you wait for a direct? Means that there's not a contract, that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You're hoping that when you butcher your pig, you're going to have a market for it. Whereas with weanlings, if you can move them, I would say move your weanlings so that especially if you can get a good price for them.
Yeah, we stay sold out of weanlings. If we want to grow any out, we have to hold them back.
So Joe, you're doing yours. You're growing all of yours out, aren't you, for the most part? Or are you selling mainly with?
So out of feeder pigs.
Yeah.
In the spring. I mean, okay. I don't know what everybody's getting. I'm charging $125 in the spring. Mm-hmm. It's hard not to sell a 20, 30 pound feeder pig for $120 or $25. So
yes.
That's what I was gonna close out with. That is everybody it depends on where you're at and your context. I mean, yes. if you're next to a big city and you got farmers markets, go that route. If you don't want to do that and you want to sell wholes and halves, I mean, it all depends on where you're at, your feed availability, and the people. There's a lot of variables going in the countryside to how you're going to sell and market your pigs.
It is. And so, I get a lot of contact wanting to know if I sell meat, if I sell whole halves, if I grow out to butcher weight. And I don't do that because in the area that I live in, with the price and cost of feed and everything, nobody would pay what I would have to charge to pay to even make $1 off of that. Right. So that marketing of the meat and everything is just, I cannot provide that doing with the area that I live in. I live in poor man's land. All right. So
I don't know about everybody else, but in the spring, I mean, I don't know, red wattles are hot. I get phone calls all the time. People wanting feeder pigs, registered stuff. It's hard not, like I said, hard not to move them when they're small like that before you get to feed in them.
It is true. And I want to go back to a little bit. The reason I ask if people, if you do cross or anything like that is because in certain areas, nobody knows what a red wattle is, right? So when I bought my red wattle and people would come down and they would see these hogs in my field and they did not understand what they were. They thought I was an alien and these hogs were aliens, right? So to market people, to get them to understand what the Red Wattle could bring to them, I decided to cross mine with something that the people around me knew, so I crossed with Duroc, because everybody where I live at knows what a Duroc, a Hampshire, and a Yorkshire is. So, and that brought people to try out a Red Wattle in a different way. But then almost 60% of those that I have sold to those around me that were crossbreds, they have come back to me for purebred, right? They tried that, and that's what they prefer now. So that's the reason I wonder how people get into the market of selling those, because it would be hard for me in the area that I live in to sell just straight up, have a niche market for Red Wattles.
So in this area, Red Wattles are not even available. I started with unregistered and cross stock, and eventually, drove to Wisconsin, to get a breeding group. And I brought back a trailer load. Ryan, how many was it? Like 15, 20 hogs for 6 different breeders? Because there's
I
none.
don't know. There was so many that you took an extra one with you. I know that.
Yeah. You didn't see me stuff that one under my shirt, I guess.
I'm glad you eventually, told me that you had an extra pig on board.
But I brought pigs back for 6 breeders because they're in demand down here and they're not available.
Which is true. I mean, there is a demand for Red Wattles, and I think that's what we're trying to bring into focus now, is that there is more of a demand. There is more product out there than we actually realize is out there. It's just how do we get it to be known like it should be known, Joe, I'll ask you, like I asked Russ, if for somebody that's wanting to get into the selling of meat, or direct marketing that straight up Red Wattle, what advice would you give to them?
You just gotta start, put yourself out there. Sell a story is what the main thing is. You're not selling the way we look at it, we're not selling the meat, we're selling the story of the family farm and what we do every day, and that sells the meat at the end of the day. People want to buy from you and support you for what you're doing. And then the Red Wattle meat's just a bonus when they try it.
Exactly.
And they come.
Well, they want to buy it because they like Amanda, not you, Joe.
Yeah, probably.
All right. So, Joe, do you have anything else?
Nope. I think that's about it for me. Unless anybody has any other questions, I think I'm gonna have to skedaddle like Russ did. I got some stuff I got to get done here. So
on your weaner feeder pigs, where you're saying you're selling for 125, what kind of profit do you think that you make on that? I mean, have you kind of figured that out, or do you just kind of come up with that number?
Well, first it depends on how many pigs you're weaning off a sow.
Yes.
I'd have to think. I used to have. It's not coming to me. I've figured it up before on what I have into a sow.
Mm-hmm.
What you have into that sow per year. I mean that's what it comes down to. I mean, if you got $600 into a sow, or just using a number, 500 for the year, and she weans 8 pigs total, 4 and 4, or she weans 16. I mean, obviously the profit's going to change a lot.
Yeah, I was just curious if you had kind of a ratio formula that you'd come up with, or if you just thought, hey, 125. Because I just know in my area here in Missouri, weanling or feeder pigs, anything of color, get you $100 to $150. They just don't like white pigs, but anything that has some color on them will get you between $100 and $150 for a wean to I call that a light feeder, what you're selling. Most of the time, what I would call a feeder, a 40 to 60 pound pig, but a kind of a weaner pig there, 22 to 35 pounds. You can get about that for any colored pig. And that's why I was curious if you had a ratio or some formula that was helping you figure out what you'd need per head.
No, just, I have, like I said, I figured out what I have into my sows. I keep track of the feed and what I have into them. I cannot remember the number right now off the top of my head, but that's what it comes down to at the end of the day is how much you have into that sow, overhead and feed.
All right, anything else for Joe?
I got a quick question for you, Joe. In general, in your area, what is like if you were just to buy a 50-pound sack of feed, do you have any like a spitball idea of what that costs? The reason why I ask is right now out here in Oregon, there isn't a lot of true red wattle hogs. And we basically buy all of our feed from you guys in the Midwest. So we have really high feed costs. But the only hogs that I've sold as feeders are barrows, and I got $175 to $200 a head. I only sold 4 because I raised most of mine out for meat. But I mean, I guess it's what the market will bear. But is your feed really really inexpensive in general?
Like I said, I have my feed is what I can sell it for at the ethanol plant. So
Right.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, ethanol.
Yeah, so I can, I've got a bin full of corn and I can feed it to a pig, or I could take it to the ethanol plant for $7.50 a bushel. So that's soybean meal. I have to buy that. But I buy bulk. I'll buy 2 ton at a time. I got really lucky. We had a co-op going out of business here. Actually, they merged and they quit mixing feed, and they had 2 pallets, so 80 bags of pre-mixed mineral, and they weren't mixing anymore. And this is 2 years ago, before everything started jumping up stupid crazy high. And I think I got that for $13 a bag. So, and I've still got a pallet of that left. So, I mean, you got stuff like that too. You can shop around, try to find deals like that, which that was kind of odd. That doesn't happen very often, but yeah, that's pretty much my feed. I do mix some alfalfa in with my feed too, because I think it helps. I like it. It's good for their guts. I think it helps the flavor. It might slow them down a smidge because it's taking the protein away a little bit, but I don't know. I started doing it and I like it. So I keep adding alfalfa into the mix.
I'm right here in Missouri, which is in the heart of the same grain belt. Right now, for me to buy corn at the elevator is just under $12 for 50 pounds. And my hog feed mix, which is a 16%, is right at around $14, give or take. That would kind of be, he would probably be something very similar to that in Minnesota, I would say, if he was to buy it.
Yeah, because I have no idea. I haven't bought any ever.
I just mixed feed, and it was $6.72 at the elevator for the corn, and I think my bill came out to right around $2,200 for just under 6 ton. So I think that's what, 400? 4 times 6, just under $400 a ton for feed is what I paid yesterday.
Are you feeding straight corn though, or you're mixing it?
That has that's got 100 pounds of dried distillers, 100 pounds of soy meal, 100 pounds of linseed, and 100 pounds of barley per ton. Plus there's also like about 25 pounds of sunflower in that. So it comes out to right around 12% protein.
All right.
Yeah, you guys can get bulk bins, or any way you can get bulk, you're gonna save.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have bulk, but it's hard to find. I have to, thank God I have a mill that I've used for over 20 years that'll work with me, but it's hard to even get feed down here, no matter what you pay for it.
I would agree with her. I've talked about getting bulk And it's actually cheaper for me to buy the sack feed and go pick it up at the elevator, because the bulk feed, they have a price that to deliver it now. And you would think the higher the tonnage, the cheaper it gets, but it's up to a certain ton as a price, then up to another price. And as you go up in the tonnage, the delivery fee actually goes up. And if you pencil it out, if someone even gave you the bulk bin, you didn't have to buy it. I could virtually go there and get feed sacks from them for what I paid for less for several years before I would offset the delivery charge that they have. And my farm's only located probably 5 miles at best from the elevator.
Yeah, I get 3.5 tons at a time, and there's not a delivery charge, but it saves the work of lifting and moving the bags, and it's just so much easier to feed with the bins and the tractor. And my son works the farm by himself. I work during the day. So the bins were expensive, but I think and I like them. I don't love them, but I think it was a good choice for us.
All right, so any more questions for Joe before he runs away without telling us goodbye? All right, Joe. Well, I thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. And if you guys have any other questions, you can email me or Facebook or anything like that. I can try to get back to you that way too.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next one and the last one, we saved the best for last, Julia. No
Right.
offense to Joe or Russ. All right, so the next one is going to be Julia Smith, and she is located in Canada. So she can give us a little bit of a different perspective from what the rest of us are going through here. All right, go ahead, Julia.
I don't think that things are drastically different here in Canada in terms of direct marketing anyway. In terms
Yeah.
of trying to raise red wattle hogs, it certainly is.
Yes.
But that's a topic for another day. I've been direct marketing in one place or another for about 12 or 14 years now. I've been doing pigs for about 10. Now I've done just about everything, but mostly pigs and beef. I have my own butcher shop in Vancouver. I ended up having to close that because I ran into the pointy end of a boar and tried to kill myself and couldn't manage the farm and the shop. But so I know I've got some retail experience there as well. But yeah, mostly been direct marketing all this time. I used to run about 12 to 14 sows, but because, this is the other thing that's different here is I just can't get anything killed reliably or cut and wrapped. We actually moved to the property we have now, planning to scale up our business because I couldn't keep up with demand at my shop and I needed more land, and then realized pretty quickly that there just wasn't any reliable processing. And it's a huge issue everywhere in Canada because of some meat regulations that came in response to BSE back in the day. And we lost almost every single one of our small regional abattoirs. And yeah, we've just have not recovered from that. So at the moment, I am down to 4 sows and a boar, 3 of which are registered red wattles, and the boar. Like Joe, I'm keeping my Berkshire around for nostalgic reasons. I have more cows than I have pigs now. But I am building an abattoir and a cut and wrap. So I'm hoping I'll be able to scale back up in the next year or 2. So for now, I'm focusing on getting that going. But anyway, do have quite a bit of direct marketing experience. I do a newsletter. I find that's pretty effective. I used to do it every week. I haven't done it every week for a few years now, but like Joe said, people want to hear your story. And honestly, my customers would buy anything I sold them because they trust me and they like the story, and they know I've got my heart in the right place, and I'm trying to do right by my animals, and I'm trying to do right by the environment, and I do a lot of work in the community. And so, yeah, people just trust me. The fact that the red wattle meat is like seriously the best I've ever experienced is just a bonus for them. They were perfectly happy with what I was doing before, and now it's better. The red wattle carcass quality really is outstanding. And if I'm not able to sustain the purebreds, which is proving extremely difficult here in Canada, I will just continue to go keep as much purebred going as I can. But honestly, the difference in quality between my purebreds and my hybrids is not that much, actually. I find that I still get an excellent quality carcass off my hybrids, and they finish a little bit quicker. And so from a financial perspective, can't really argue with that. With the price of everything going through the roof right now, it'd actually be a lot smarter for me to do that. I used to sell a lot of wiener pigs. I kind of got into that by accident, just when I realized that I had scaled up my business and couldn't get anything killed. So, but I just find it's not worth it. Even selling them for about what Joe's selling when I do the conversion to US dollars. It's not worth keeping all these animals over the winter so that I can keep people happy in the spring, because everybody just wants them in the spring, right? I live off the grid at 3,500 feet. So winters here are tough. It means smashing 17 water troughs with an axe twice a day and getting your shoulder replaced every 4 years. So not interested, so that people can have their little hobby farms and raise a few pigs over the summer. So I got out of that. I've got a lot of really disappointed customers, but I've decided to just focus on the purebreds for now. I have a waiting list as long as my arm for purebreds. Just can't seem to get anything I'm proud enough of to register yet. We were going back a little bit to what we were talking about with the contracts. I think there's a little bit of confusion around that maybe. I mean, there's contract growing, which is typically on a much bigger scale than what I'm talking about, and I think what most of us are talking about. And then there's having a contract because you have like a distributor or like a restaurant that wants to buy from you regularly. Another kind of hybrid that I've done that protects you a little bit is a CSA model. I don't know if it's in the States too. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's a community supported agriculture. And that's basically where you sell in advance. People sign up for a subscription to your program. And like we used to run a program called the Beastie Box. And every week they got a box of meat, and it was whatever we were putting in it, and you could have a subscription program just for your red wattle hogs. I find most people in my market anyway are living in one of the most expensive places in the world, and they live in tiny little condos and have tiny little freezers, and they certainly can't handle a whole hog or a side even. And so in a community like that, you've got a good opportunity to sign them up at the beginning of the year to buy the equivalent of a whole hog, but you parcel it out to them throughout the year. And if you live anywhere near a larger urban center where that might be a good fit, I'd encourage you to look into finding a distribution model. Like I'm 3 or 4 hours away from my market, and it's taken me years to figure it out, but I've got a pretty slick distribution model where I just drop it off at the freezer storage, and they truck it down to the coast. And then I've got another guy, and he goes and takes it right to the people's doors. And so that's a really good model for us. And it allows you to charge a premium because you're basically, it's all retail pricing. It's no wholesale, and you've got a guaranteed market because they're signing up at the beginning of the year, and you're getting that money up front. And so that's another way that you can go. It is a little tricky now with feed prices being so volatile and fuel prices. Like I know, especially like with my distributors, there's like all of these extra taxes now, like the fuel surcharges. So you'd have to tweak that a little bit. And my feed costs gone up 30% in the last 2 years, but that's another model that's worth looking into with direct marketing.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up the CSAs because there is a lot of CSAs that are starting to form, not exactly where I'm at, but in the surrounding, at least within the next, 50 miles of me. There's a lot of people that are doing that. And I do have one friend that is in on the outside of North Carolina, and they are part of a CSA. And what they have done is that's how they are moving their meat. Like you said, they're moving it. They know that those are sold because those people have paid at the beginning of the year. But they also, when they sign up for the CSA, they have a waiver thing in there that the price can fluctuate throughout. And so then they'll take that fluctuation price and then, they just send it in whenever they get their next package, or if they want to, however, I can't remember exactly how they do it, but there's a fluctuation counted into that to account for the feed. And they're doing really well with that.
And that if you know somebody that is a member of another CSA, like a vegetable CSA, which is the more traditional model, that's another way that you could probably get into it, is by partnering with somebody who's doing vegetables, because somebody who's really into the local organic vegetables is probably also interested in high quality local meat. And so you can offer that to their customers as an add-on to kind of dip your feet in the pool. That's another really good way to go. So, hook up with somebody who's already got the customer base and they're already doing the deliveries. And if you can just get your product to them, and like once a month, you can add Red Wattle Pork to your subscription. That's another way you could try it.
Yeah. So
on your go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
On your CSAs, we looked in that because I'm not too far from Kansas City, and they wanted us to commit to just, before I'd raised different breeds, I was raising mostly Berkshires before, and they wanted us to just commit to cuts like bacon, pork chops, maybe some hams. And we were running into like, what are we going to do with all this, like sausage or ground pork? They weren't willing to commit to a full on hog. They were willing to cut to pounds of cuts. Have you?
Who do you mean by they?
The CSAs, there was 2 or 3 that we talked with in the Kansas City area.
It sounds like when you say you're talking about somebody who is going to like sell the CSA for you. When I talk about CSA, I'm saying it's my program. I run it. I bring in the customers directly. I deliver to them directly. And so that's actually the beauty of the CSA is they don't get to decide what they're getting. There's
a couple in Kansas City that we talked to that kind of organized, and you would just kind of piggyback off this organization. You would like they were mostly vegetables, like you were saying, and then I would contribute
what I'm talking about.
Okay, you're saying that you established
find your own customers. Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't affiliated with that. You just created your own CSA.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And like, if you do want to team up with a veggie farm or whatever, like you set the terms and you can explain that, we're going to have this many hogs available and these are all the cuts. And so if we've got 50 members and we're going to butcher 6 hogs and this is how it's going to break down. You don't get to decide what you get, and you can spin that, right? Like, again, I don't have a pork vending machine. If you want to support like local farms like this, you got to eat the whole hog. And
that's what we ran into, is they were wanting, how it is, you want the main things, and then somebody else is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pretty soon I'm sitting here with a freezer full of sausage or ground pork.
Yeah, no, don't do that. But you can get around that by offering recipes. I mean, you do have to baby people a little bit. but yeah, I mean, everyone knows what a pork chop is. Everybody knows what bacon is, but people don't understand that you're only going to get 12 pounds of bacon out of a pig. And so you can't have all the bacon. Don't be greedy. So, but as soon as they learn about the other cuts, like, oh my God, like shoulder steaks, neck steaks, best cut on the pig that nobody's ever heard of, right? You start educating them about it in a fun and playful way, and you give them the recipes and prepare them for what they're going to get. You have like next week, you're going to be getting this, you might want to try this recipe. It gives them a little chance to Google that and figure out. I mean, there's no bad cut on a pig. There just isn't. I mean, it's
Did you do that through your newsletter?
Yeah.
Now, did you do an actual newsletter or like a blog or electronic newsletter? Or was it something that you
no, it
mailed
was
out?
electronic through MailChimp. If I can share my screen, I can show it to you. Do you want to make me co-host and then I can?
Yeah, I think Walt has to do that.
Okay, well, I can post some links in the chat because I've got like my newsletter and my Instagram and my Facebook all up here. But yeah, it's through MailChimp. And I would send out my newsletter every week and it would have recipes in it. And I mean, I haven't done the CSA for a while now because I had to scale back, but I'm really hoping to get back to that now once we get the new abattoir going. And I'd like to do it actually collaboratively with a number of farms so that, we can have lamb and we can have beef and we can have chicken. And
so you brought up the recipe because I was going to bring that up also. So I do have a contract with a place in Maryland. So I'm the breeder of the animals and I send them to this farm for their meat production that they grow out, right? And so they do have a Red Wattle, but then they also do Red Wattle crosses. Depending on how much production they need that faster grow out rate, right? But what they do is sort of like the meals that you order that get sent to you, right? So when they do their CSA packages, they have vegetables from other places put into it, but they've coordinated with those produce farms to where they're actually making meals. So, and they put the meals together and then they send that with a recipe. They use the entire hog. So they send off parts that people would have never thought of eating, but they have given them a recipe, given them vegetables to go along with that, which makes them cook that and eat that. And then, they like it or they don't, but it gives them a chance to use that entire hog instead of wasting, the good parts that people don't even know exist.
It frustrates me that we have to do that for people. And, people like that are not going to survive the zombie apocalypse. But yeah, if you can get what you need to go to that trouble, then yeah, more power to you. One thing we did when we had the butcher shop, we actually were running a vegetable CSA concurrently because we had a veggie farm as well. And we actually teamed up with a local restaurant to make prepared meals. And so everybody would get some raw cuts in their box, but then they'd also get one prepared meal as well. And that was a good way for us to get rid of some of the harder to move things. Yes. And we could do a lot with like stocks and stews and that sort of thing. So if you can team up with some fancy pants chef who will even help you market your product, that's another way you can do it. I'm not saying, start cooking in your home kitchen. I don't know about down there, but you can't do that here. It has to be
it's not legal.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do have a relationship with a reliable chef, that might be another way to go. But really, I just want to hit home the point that direct marketing is the way to go, keeping it as simple as possible. It's really easy to get down this rabbit hole, as we've just demonstrated. Well, you could do this and you could do that and you could do this, but keeping it simple and easy and quick is the best way to go for your sanity and for your bottom line as well, in my experience. But do look at creative ways to do that. So yeah, like if we can team up with somebody else who has a really great distribution system already, then do that. And yeah, just really tell your story, get on social media, take the pictures. I mean, it is a little bit of a story sometimes. We have this thing amongst my friends we call dark Instagram, where we post like what it really looks like and reality. It's kind of good therapy, but your customers don't want to see that. No whining, no gross pictures, no dead things, all the flowers, all of the happiness, all the piglets all the time, and they'll buy whatever you're selling. And the only other thing I'll say is watch your numbers. And because it's very easy to start working for free, and pretty soon you find that you're subsidizing meals for people who make more money than you, and that's just silly.
It is.
And so keep track of everything, keep track of your time. I know like none of us really account for our time, but at least don't be losing money before you keep track of your time. Otherwise, why are you doing it?
So I was just gonna say, there's a thing called farmtoconsumer.org that I've used in the past. It's like $100 a year, something like that, but they'll write these, it's a legal group, but they provided me with a herd share contract for my goats, and also they can do a meat share. I talked to them about it, but I haven't done that yet. But they seem like a good group if you're needing that kind of work done.
And that sounds like a good investment, right? $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, could save you legally. And secondly, like, how long is that going to take you to figure out on your own? So that's just working smart, right?
Yep. So anybody got any questions for Julia? I know Brad's on here. I haven't heard from Brad.
Can I say, Julia? Wow, you are amazing. I'm so glad I tuned in. I'm so glad I tuned in. I thought I was just gonna have to listen to Mollie all night.
Exactly. Everybody loves to listen to me, Ryan.
I like the way you talk.
All right. Well, so Julia, I know that you sort of said it before, but I'll ask you like I did everybody else. What is the biggest piece of advice that you give to anybody?
I think if I can think of anything else. Yeah, it really just comes down to don't work for free. I really feel passionate about that. It pisses me off that people, like, our society seems to think it's socially acceptable for farmers to not get paid because it's a lifestyle. Oh, you're so lucky. Like, that's bullshit. Why shouldn't we get paid? And what's wrong with loving your job? You can love your job and get paid. So, we shouldn't be ashamed to charge what we need to charge, because one day people might be sorry if we lose all of our family farms. And if we don't get paid, that's what's going to happen. That's not me.
Not me
I don't know what that is.
Somebody's calling us.
No, it's not that. Oh, sorry, I lied. It is me. Oh, it's my kid calling me on FaceTime. Psycho. No, don't do that. Sorry, everyone. Yeah,
awesome.
Get paid, because
That's right.
we work too hard.
Yeah.
If you can, charge what you need to charge to stay in business and not be bitter and resentful.
Exactly. Like my husband, he's bitter.
And have insurance and stuff too, right? Like, what if you get hurt? You got to think of stuff like that. So,
yes. Well, thank you so much, Julia.
You're very welcome.
Yes. All right. So we have concluded with all three of the guest speakers for this evening. Does anybody have any questions or anything to anybody, or anybody have any input that they want to put out there?
Can I say one thing about the USDA report that was released yesterday on what they consider the next 10 years. I think they call it the run out prices on commodities. And the past 60-year trend is that, corn and soybeans run right around 10 to 20% above break even. And they're figuring that corn is going to be right around $4 a bushel for the next 10 years, which is substantially lower. And they also think that soybeans is going to come down and wheat's going to come down quite a bit. So for everyone that's in it right now, that these prices are not going to last, and that's historically true. So if you have to reduce your herd in the meantime, don't get frustrated. Get rid of the pigs that you absolutely don't need. Keep your quality breeding stock, and when prices do come down, that you can scale back up.
And don't put your prices down when your costs come down.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's that's the way.
Because you're probably not paying yourself enough anyway.
And if they could pay for it during a economic crisis, they can pay for it when it's cheap.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. So, Walt, do you have anything to say? If you do, we can't hear you because you're
Yeah,
muted.
try now. No, just thanks to everybody for participating. It's been a great meeting. Learned a lot.
Yes. So we will conclude, and I want to thank everybody again for joining in. We had more people join in this time than last time, and so hopefully it keeps on growing. We will be thinking about what our next topic will be for next month's first Thursday conversation. And also for everybody, don't forget that the RWHA, the association meeting will be on, I think it's June the 9th. So yeah, on June, is that right? Is it June the 9th, Walt? I think it is. Yes. All right. So if everybody could join in then for that, I would appreciate it. And again, thank you for coming. And I hope everybody got to learn a little bit of something. And I'm sorry that you had to listen to me talk all the time, Ryan.
Thank you. You did a great job facilitating.
Yes, yes. I was sort of caught off guard. I didn't know I was going to have to do it. So I said, well, I'm just going to wing the shit out of it, I guess. I don't know.
No, it was great. You had good questions and you kept it going. Well done.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. All right. So this will be good night, and we'll see everybody again.
Good night.
See ya.